perfect storm. They are debasing their currencies right now. I'm getting slightly emotional, sorry. So let's switch up the tone. Some mad lads out there are receiving their stimulus checks and spending it on Bitcoin. Billy, it's time you learn about money and the importance of Billy, no! Is that one of you watching right now? Your respective government was hoping you'd spend that money wisely. Maybe spend it on some local businesses, stimulate the economy slightly. And then you go ahead and do something like this. They must think you are so stupid.
What shall we use to conduct this beautiful current with? What one particular element comes to mind? Wire. Copper.
But is that the right decision? Well, in order to find out, let's first consult the gayest chart in all of crypto, the rainbow chart. As we go down in the color schemes, from the top, maximum bubble territory in red, orange, sell, FOMO, is this a bubble, hodl, still cheap, accumulate. We are currently in what you would describe more, I suppose, professionally as extremely oversold. So, there we have it. Before the halving and everything, which actually seems to be a theme just before the past two halvings too. As the poster himself states, you simply can't deny the statistical significance of this logarithmic regression. You actually can. I'll show you how easy it is. Number one, there were logs like this back in 2014, which looked very different to the ones we see now. Why? Because they were redrawn. This is correct for as long as it's correct, until it needs to be redrawn. So, there you go. I've denied the statistical significance of this. However, sorry, I didn't mean to shout. This isn't the only chart that looks like this. A more mathematical approach to plotting out Bitcoin, the stock to flow model. Yes, we're looking at this again. This time updated and including the relative strength index, ranging from dark blue, extreme oversold conditions, to dark red, extremely overbought. Guess what? We are extremely blue right now. Funnily enough, seemingly corroborating the stance of the first chart we looked at almost exactly, it's about to skyrocket very, very quickly.
Really fast!
If I was the author of this chart, I'd be sweating, quite honestly. Not because I'm a sweaty man or anything like that, but not because it's make or break time for this chart, but there are examples of where the price lagged behind predictions. But if we are to dump at the next halving instead of rally as predicted, it would all but invalidate the usefulness of this chart completely, in my opinion. So let's move away from the charts for a second and do some behavioral analysis. If you know, you know. Know what? Wall Street gets bullish. Goldman Sachs, unlikely to make new lows. Morgan Stanley, pullback should be bought. JP Morgan, my personal favorite. All-time highs next year in the stock market, cool. Piper Sandler, bear market has concluded. So what do you mean? If you know, you know. Well, this poster actually conveniently puts an excerpt from a book. I actually own it. Where is it? Insider Buy Super Stocks by Jesse C. Stein. I actually can recommend this. This was a good book. Anyway, the expert talks about, or at least showcases, how often these massive institutions are completely incorrect when they state something about the market. So do they trade the opposite of what they tell people publicly? Maybe. Probably. And while no indicator is infallible, this is a pretty strong one that the bear market has far from concluded. Does this benefit Bitcoin though? Clearly it didn't earlier in March when both dumped. But considering now that at least 50% of that dump has been recovered, are things any different now? Mike Novogratz thinks it will be. Mike is most famously known for his feature in a club banger,
Mr. Novogratz, we have
but he is also a billionaire institutional investor in Bitcoin, and he says he is short stocks and credit and long Bitcoin. Can we trust him though? Let's see what he's got to say.
I've heard this is the time for Bitcoin before. Why is this the time for? Why, if central banks around the world are embarking on a monetary debasement that dwarfs quantitative easing, why is Bitcoin at 6,700 and not at 25,000?
Great question.
You know, Liz, you got to still remember it's an 11-year-old experiment, and it's only in the last year where it really has become a macro weapon, you know, an investment choice. And I'm seeing, literally in the last month, hedge funds and high net worth individuals who had never bought it before who are buying it. And so it's no longer a question of explain it to me, how does it work, what does this mean? It's like, okay, I'm going to take a risk. Listen, the risk on any store of value, if it's gold, is that enough people believe in it. And so it's still a question of adoption. I'm just seeing more adoption here in the U.S. and in Europe than I have literally since I started this. Why is it down? Listen, Asian retail is still a big part of this. The Chinese economy is getting hit. There's a lot of leverage in the system in the Asian retail side of crypto. And so there are still sellers coming out of Asia. You know, the China-U.S. relation and the China-European relationships.
Okay, I think you get the point. I'm not sure that was such a good answer, but to be fair to him, it basically was a very difficult question to answer. If it's not been Bitcoin's time before, while you've said it was, why is it now? You're just starting off on the back foot right there. But Mike holds his own, I would say, as good as he can. He says essentially it's because of China, that Bitcoin is only 11 years old, and that he's seen more institutional adoption now than he's ever seen before, which I think is the strongest of all his points. You can't really refute that, I guess. We will have to take his word for it. If true, pretty interesting. I think my personal takeaway from all this would be that I'm hoping for positive price action on Bitcoin, but hoping a boom is going to happen while a stock market crash is happening, or expecting a boom for Bitcoin because a stock market crash is happening, I feel is overly wishful thinking, in my opinion. And at least for now. Hopefully that changes soon. But let me know what you think. I do read comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed. That's much appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one. Many a man has pondered. Many a woman has contemplated. What is the reason for existence? But more importantly, when will Bitcoin finally become something that my friends don't tease me for getting involved in?